Good morning, everybody. It's me, Waddles. Have you just found yourself a spawner and you don't know what to do with it? Are you looking for an easy source of experience, early, mid, maybe late game? Or, of course, are you just one of the largest farm fans of all time? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, you're in luck. Over the course of the next however many minutes it is, I'm going to show you how to build the easiest and the best spawner farm in the entire world. Even better news for this one, it's going to work on both Minecraft Java Edition and Bedrock Edition just the same. You know how it goes, the tutorial. If you enjoyed or if it helps you out, tap that like button. If you got a question, throw it down below. And for a world download of this exact farm, tap join and become a member today. There's a little bit more info in the join button. So there's one way, and one way only, that we could kick off today's farming build, and that's going to be with materials. To build a spawner XP farm. And I suppose to be overly clear, today's spawner XP farm build is designed for skeletons and zombies. Great news for both of these two hostile mobs. The design is essentially going to be the same. Anyways, material-wise, we'll need exactly 1 soul sand, 1 slab, 1 fence, and 3 signs. You're also, of course, going to need a spawner for this build, so go out in your world and find one. You'll need a non-specific amount of water buckets and torches might help you out. Also, building blocks. You're going to want to have some extra building blocks, including maybe potentially some extra slabs on the side as well. But you'll probably get a lot of building blocks from digging this farm out, so maybe you don't need to worry about it too much. A good pickaxe might speed up the build process, and a good sword, maybe with looting, will increase your drops. Last and not least, but totally optional, if you want an item collection system, 1 hopper and 1 chest. Oh, and I almost forgot, you might maybe want to have 1 extra sign, so bring that total up to 4. And to make your water elevator a little bit easier, kelp. Kelp might help out huge time. Next up, once you've gathered all of your materials, if you haven't yet, it's time for a spawner. So, spawner. Inside of your world, there are many different ways one could go about finding a spawner. On Minecraft Java and Bedrock, those methods are pretty much the same. Method number 1, in case you haven't found one quite yet, the tried and true, the classic, head down into the caves, run around for a little bit of time, and hopefully, before too long, you find yourself a spawner room. Once you find that spawner room, go ahead and light that room up crazy big time, get that light level above 12 all the way around the spawner, and spawn should cut off. Before you get too close with the spawner though, maybe head back into the cave around the spawner and light it up, or maybe even, if you're extra paranoid, block it off from the rest of the cave. You see, I'm sure you know, I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you do anything bad to the spawner, including break it or a creeper surprise explodes it, well, it's gone, and you're gonna have to find another one. If you're having a lot of trouble finding a spawner though, great news, chunk base. Chunk base is beautiful and it will work for Minecraft Java and Bedrock. I'll link it down below. There's a dungeon finder on chunk base. Up top, I would put my seed right there. Then I'll go ahead and select the version of the game that I am currently playing. After that, you can go ahead and scroll in, scroll out, look around your world and find the different spawners. The red ones are spider ones. Those are a no-go for this design, but green and gray, that's perfect. Now, if you would like a little bit more information on maybe finding spawners, anything like that, then check out my Minecraft guide episode on that topic next up. Let's move on. Now, once you've found a spawner, whether you're on Minecraft Java or Bedrock, from this point on, the rest of the build today is going to be exactly the same. Find your spawner, move into the room, and light that room up all the way. It might help to place some torches on the spawner itself. No matter what you decide to do, though, we need that light level above 12 everywhere to cut off spawns. Place a slab on top of the spawner to prevent mobs from idling on top of it later. Now, I can't stress this enough, make sure the cave around your spawner build is either blocked off from the rest of the cave system or fully lit up and nice and safe. Every spawner in Minecraft has an activation range and an invisible box in which that spawner will be able to spawn mobs into the world. On Minecraft Bedrock and Java, there are some subtle, slight differences, but the differences aren't big enough to make us have to change our build for either version of the game. It's going to be the same farm on Minecraft Bedrock and Java. Move into your spawner room after you've lit it up and dig 4 blocks out from your spawner in every single direction. When it comes to our vertical height, you're probably going to be fine. You see, spawner rooms, the height of them, it seems to vary sometimes, but as long as the ceiling is more than 2 blocks above your spawner, you're good to go. Now, after digging 4 blocks out in every direction from the spawner, continue to dig 4 blocks out from the floor all the way up to the ceiling. We're going to want to end up with a room that is a 9 by 9 with a spawner placed dead center inside of it. For now, don't worry about the floor. Hey, side note, I think this is like the first tutorial in years that I'm filming largely on Minecraft and Bedrock, so I guess you let me know what you think about that down below. While digging out your room, you might have to move your torches. A little pro tip to remove them easier later on, don't place them too high up on a wall. While digging out your room, if you happen to have one side of your spawner that ends up fully opening up to the cave, let's That's a problem. Using whatever block you'd like that is a solid block that probably won't let light through, go ahead and fill that wall in almost all the way. You might want to leave some kind of doorway in and out so you can, well, get in and out of your build. Oh, and those chests with loot, if you haven't yet, get those out of the way. Alright, so just a little bit of digging later, and now I have a room that looks something like this. 9x9 spawner in the center, slab on top of the spawner. The floor of this room. For the floor, from the spawner, we're going to go 1 block down, 2 block down, 3 block down, 4 blocks down from the spawner. By digging our floor 4 blocks down all over this room, we will ensure that the mobs, when they spawn, they basically spawn and drop out of the detection box, maximizing the potential rates of this farm. Yeah, so back to that spawner detection box business for a second here. Basically, if I have a mob, let's say a zombie, inside of that spawner detection box, well, then the spawner won't even try to spawn another mob. Basically, the faster we can move our mobs away from the spawner, the faster more mobs will be able to spawn from our spawner. Also, not a big deal and totally not absolutely necessary, but if you care about the aesthetics of your farm, right now is the perfect time to pick your dream block and put it on the walls, the ceiling, the floor, whatever. Tiny bit of designing later, and now I've got a room that looks something like this. Next up, it's time to start planning for our water funnel and water elevator. To start this process, we're going to want to pick a side of the room. The side of the room that you pick, it doesn't matter, the room should be perfectly symmetrical. We'll go with this side. Pick a side, and on that side, dig 1 block down from one wall all the way to the other wall, so you have a trench running all the way along one side of the room. Now, this trench is going to be for water. If I dump water in one corner right now, we're going to notice that it almost flows all the way. On the block where the water ends, dig down. On the block after the water ends, dig down. And then into the wall, go ahead and dig out 3 blocks, 4 blocks, just like that right there. Now this water right here, we technically don't really need it yet, so I'll pull it out. In a minute, once the farm is done, we'll have water inside of this area flowing over, bouncing down, and moving into the wall. Inside of the wall, 1 more block is where the elevator is going to be. On the floor right here, even with where the wall is, dig 1 block down and place a fence. After that, place a soul sand block diagonally above the fence, and beyond the soul sand, dig out this block right here, even with 1 block above the soul sand in the wall. It's sign time. 1 sign right here, even with above the soul sand, another sign right here, even with that block that we dug out, and then 1 final sign right there. That's going to keep water inside of the elevator, and our elevator is going to sit on the soul sand block directly above it more specifically. But before we actually go ahead and dig the elevator out, let's figure out where the mobs actually land. So from this soul sand block right here, to make things a little easier, we'll go ahead and actually remove these blocks. We'll put them back a little bit later. On the other side of the soul sand block, at least 2 blocks, maybe more comfortably like 3 or 4 blocks away, we're going to go ahead and pick a block where we want our mobs to actually land. Now after that, ooh, diamonds. After that, we're going to go ahead and start digging out a room that is going to become our grinding room later on. In other words, the room that we will stand in to take out the mobs. It's very important that at least some part of this room stays within 16 blocks of our spawner, so it will actually activate. A great way to make sure your room stays within 16 or so blocks of the spawner is, well, dig your room out to the wall of the spawner room and replace the wall with maybe something that doesn't let light through, like tinted glass. Easiest way to know if your spawner is activated is if the mob inside of it is spinning and the particles are lit up. Next up, we need the coordinates to make our job a little bit easier. On Minecraft Bedrock Edition, pause your game, go into settings, scroll down until you see show coordinates, turn that on if it's not already on. In the top corner of your screen, you've got the coordinates. Jump on top of the block where you want your mobs to land. For me, that's going to be this block right here, within 8 blocks of the soul sand block. Very important. The most important coordinate for us today is the middle one, the Y coordinate, -19. In Minecraft, almost all mobs take damage from falling. We could use this fall damage thing to speed up the removal process of our mobs. A skeleton, a zombie, if I drop them more than like 22 blocks, they will instantly be removed from life. The block that you want your mobs to land on, and take the Y coordinate and add 20 to that number. After that, somehow, whether it's towering up slowly with blocks, maybe using scaffolding, whatever, but somehow, dig your room all the way up to 20 above whatever your coordinate was. To be honest, scaffolding might be the easiest way to do this because you can instantly remove it later on. But once you've made it to 20 blocks above the block that you want to drop your mobs on, well, easy. Now, if you're extra genius, you know exactly how many blocks away your soul sand is. If you're not extra genius, no big deal. Go ahead and dig a small hallway, 2 blocks tall throughout the entire hallway. Then go back down to where your soul sand was and do it all again. And dig up until you find that other hallway. Now, next up, before we do anything else with the elevator, aka get the water involved, we need to replace the blocks that we broke before. Just to show you again, the bottom setup of your elevator should look something like this. A fence down there to bump mobs up, soul sand, 3 signs right there, and 1 block removed behind the elevator, even with where your head would be if you're standing on the soul sand. Alright, now, to finish off this elevator, all the way in this top chute over here, before the falling drop, like right above it, place a sign. On the opposite corner, like the corner directly above the soul sand, place a water bucket and let that water flow. It should not only flow towards the sign, but also dump down into the elevator. However, as soon as we jump into this elevator, we'll notice that it's not actually active yet, and that's because the soul sand has flowing water and not proper water sources above it. Water sources above the soul sand, there's a couple different ways you can do this. With a water bucket, go back and forth. Maybe set up a temporary water source in this room. Go back and forth, and one by one, fill water in from the bottom all the way to the top on every block. A little bit faster, replace the soul sand for a second with dirt, then place kelp on that dirt, jump into here, and fill kelp in all the way up until you get to that flowing water block right there. At the bottom, break the dirt, replace the dirt with soul sand, and voila, just like that, the bubble column has now been activated. With our bubble column elevator now successfully activated, back inside of the mob grinding, removing room, we're going to need to fill in some blocks so mobs don't get all over the place. Leave only 1 block of space visible on the floor platform of where your mobs are going to land. I'm dealing with the skeleton spawner, but if you're dealing with the zombie spawner, then only leave 1/2 slab of space visible to account for baby zombies. Alrighty, so back inside of our room, we're almost done for the day. The first things first, a water source back in this lower trench. That water source should flow all the way over to the elevator and stop right next to the soul sand. That's perfect. Go ahead and clean up these blocks if you'd like, make them look pretty. And then inside of this room, on the side opposite where our lower water trench is, we need even more water. We'll place a water bucket in the corner, watch it, it should flow all the way to that trench. That's perfect. After that, we'll fill in water blocks all the way along this whole side so we have flat water all flowing towards the front. Alright, last but not least is showtime. To pull this one off, if you don't have it yet, you want to set up a quick escape route. The final thing that we need to do is jump inside of our room, remove the torches, and close it off. Pulling this off in survival with you, we're going to want to be quick and very careful, calculated even. So we jump into the room. First off, remove this torch that's on the spawner. After that, starting with the torches that are furthest away from my exit ramp, we remove them. Alright, so next up, that's going to be that one right there. Jump up on the block right here, carefully back out of the room, remove that, and right away, mobs begin to spawn. That's not good. Carefully, we'll go ahead and remove this little temporary staircase, and well, the skeleton has been sent off into the sunset. All that I need to do here is go ahead and finish closing off that room, fully block it in. Whoop, that's the wrong guy. Anyways, we walk over to the room right over here, swing at our mob, and just like that, one hit, it's gone. Now to use this farm, all you need to do is stand around within 16 blocks of your spawner so it's activated and give the mobs time. Every 20 seconds or so, a new wave of mobs should spawn, drop into the water, go over to the elevator, be sent up, be dropped down for you to take out. Alright, now aside from beautifying this room a little bit and making it more of your own, which you should definitely do, the final thing that you can do to modify this farm, if you want to, is replace the block that the mobs land on with a hopper. That way, all of your items will be sent into the chest right here. Now, the mobs, when they drop, they should land on top of the hopper, but if you're having problems with them bumping down, try placing a carpet on top of the hopper. To funnel more drops into the hopper, easy. Add a couple of blocks on most of the sides, something like this right here. Now, when I swing at the skeletons, almost every single drop will be sent down into the hopper, and I mean the farm is also insanely safe too. And so just like that, that's your super simple spawner experience farm. I hope today's tutorial helped you out, gave you the exact design you were always looking for. If you have any questions, throw them down below. And if you'd like a world download, become a channel member today. Not only is there a world download for this farm, but also for my iron farm, my breeze farm, omnis farm, and a couple of the other recent tutorials I've done. If you're looking for the download, you can find it on the community tab. Tap that like button and subscribe for more. Check out the tutorial playlist, it's on the end card. It's been me, Minecraft's most handsome. I'll see you tomorrow, besties. Goodbye.